Hi, I'm Dyonne. I'm a healer from Holland. Today I am with Axel, psychologist from Sweden, and Miriam, a philosopher from Sweden. And we continue to talk about our never-ending topic that we're so passionate about, personal development. And today we have Axel who came in with a big bang because he brought us a gift. And we talked about it in the last episode. And it was about who am I and how do I know who I am? So Axel, as our last episode was actually not really finished, can you continue with this fascinating topic, please?
Okay, so I will try to link it where we ended the last episode. And first, first off, the Ken Wilber direction, and I was thinking about, I think it's Epictetus who talked about wrestling with a Olympic wrestler. That God has put us in this wrestling match, and we should want to have it being an Olympic wrestler, not like a kid. Because if everything is in our lives are difficulties at a very high level, then we get to grow our personality. The tree that grows up must be bigger, essentially. Instead of us, having zero difficulties, and that just makes us weak and vulnerable. So we must find ourselves in very difficult situations, shame ourselves, and I think it was Cato who essentially in his life, it's according to Stoic history, I think, but he ridiculed himself on purpose, just to see where he ended up in this, and just to be ready in his life for others' reactions to his behavior. And if you get to that point, then you are, it's not a problem anymore. Your personality can, you can show it, you can do it anytime. If that made sense. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
And I want to ground this in a way too, with a case study, namely myself, because I was thinking about it when Miriam said something last episode. I remember watching a movie called Before Sunrise by Richard Linklater. And this movie, I think it's so fantastic. It's about two people meeting on a train.
Yeah,
and
Ethan Hawke. Yeah,
Ethan Hawke and Julie Delphi. Yeah.
No, it's sorry.
And they have this 24 hours of, it's a great story, and it's just their conversation and what happens. And in me, it resonated so much for me, for my inner self, my personality. And I thought, maybe I should show it to my mom and see what she thinks about it. I was 18 years old or something. Yeah. And she saw it. No, it's too youthful for me. I took that with me, and my valuing of the movie changed, because it was my mom who said that. So when you're more mature, you don't think about it that way. I remember the link I did. It was when you said you're seen as unrealistic, Miriam, and I'm seen as naive and that kind of stuff, which is the movie. So when you try to, this is me, this is what resonated for me, and a very important person in your life just, not maybe demolishes it, because it's my reaction to her reaction that is important, but she said it was useful, and then yeah, the value changes. The value
Yes.
changes.
Yeah.
I was thinking another thing. I thought about being in difficulties, and I was remembering this from another episode that we did, the Sadhguru quote, when he said, if you want only personal development, hang out with demons. So it's also true that we want these difficult situations that make us grow, like the chisel that makes us into diamonds, but we don't want it all the time, right? I mean, we don't. And I also have, for example, if you have, I was thinking about what you said about ridiculing yourself, and this is kind of a strategy that I have. I mean, when people talk about I'm my own worst critic, I really am my own worst critic, and that is not like, I mean, when I feel better, it sort of releases a little bit, and I get less critical, and when there is more love, there is less of that preparation for the harsh world, or like me, the separation from me and everyone else, and like the gaze of the other and things like that. It's more like yeah, but do you see what I'm trying to say? I'm like trying to say something about the difficulties, but also the love, I suppose. I mean, that there's these in your personal development and in your development of your personality that we need both of these things, right? So life isn't all about, I mean, it's very difficult to imagine that you will become a lovely, wonderful person if you have only these hard things. You would be like a closed person, someone with a closed heart, or someone who is in always has like the battleground, who perceives everything as a battleground. So there must
sure
Yeah.
Yeah.
That also has a lot to do with perception and perspective, and I believe it's also the case that well, first of all, what Axel said, yeah, with the Stoics, I'm very aware. My partner is doing daily Stoicism meditations, and he read all the books about Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus. What is his name?
Epictetus, yeah.
Yeah, and Seneca, and there's this book, Ego is the Enemy and Obstacle the Way, and so we have our morning musings and coffee on that, and it is indeed like, in a way, it makes me think of, we need the hardship in order to grow, because if we don't, I mean, that's part of the evolution. It's in our biology, the psyche. In order to evolve, I mean, you're a psychologist. You cannot evolve if you stay in a comfort zone, if you stay behind the curtains all the time, if you stay, if you live at your mama's house until you're 50. I mean, it can be comfortable, but it doesn't help you grow. We need those iconic moments in our life, school, jobs, marriage, having children, or not per se having children, but certain main events. Otherwise we don't grow our personality, or we don't grow into an emotional, mature human being. Our soul doesn't evolve. It's kind of like a muscle, and that when you don't do it, you get depressed. I mean, your muscle for development, it knocks on your door, and it shows up like a disease, like a mental illness, or how do you say, deficiency, or I mean, stuff happens. Sorry to call it like that, but yeah, lots happens, and like for me, if I meet people that want help on a spiritual level, I could say, okay, for instance, your chakras are blocked, and chakras is the system, like you can sense if someone, as Miriam also said, are you shut down or are you too open? For example, in the spiritual world, you have this huge problem. All these people that say your heart should be completely open for everything and everyone. Well, excuse me, that's not true. I mean, for me, when you ground spirituality, I talked to Miriam before about discernment and about having a critical voice as well. Yes, on a spiritual level, you should be open to the fact that something is happening. But on an emotional level, as an individual, you have to shape and form an opinion and have an idea on if something is working for you or not, or if you like it or not, or if you want something close by in your life or not. I mean, you cannot just walk around in life like a hippie saying, oh, my heart is open and I love everybody and all is in perfect order and it's amazing. No, that's insanity. I mean, you as a psychologist would probably call it psychosis or delusional, but that is not how it's supposed to be, right? Yeah. Sorry, no, go ahead. Yeah, I see you laughing.
Yeah. You know, when you talk about like psychological health, I would say it's if you want to like put it in a box and say, what is it? I would say it's showing up and showing up in life. You know,
dealing with life.
Yeah, saying yes. Saying yes to yourself. Should I initiate it? Yes. And the consequences should not be in the cards. It shouldn't matter because you should just search for it and then let the pieces fall where they may. And if it ends up good, that's good. And bad, it doesn't matter because you must search for it to know your own congruence. So staying open, having your heart open, that's good. But say that you're a person who doesn't have that kind of a heart, then you shouldn't do it because then it's bad. And say that the consequences from doing this is bad again and again and again. I met this woman who worked as a yoga instructor and feel good specialist. But she lived for everyone else. She had this retreats and you know she's big in Europe in this field. But when I talked to her, she was like this tiny shell of a person because her personality is non-existent, and she has never met another person who helped her grow her personality.
And sorry to jump in there because that makes me itch. That has been my struggle as well. I have my dysfunctionalities in my family of origin that made me struggle with being too empathic to my own extent, you know, to my own expense. And I lost myself in codependency issues all my life. And when I became a healer, obviously I first did the teachings, but then still, when you don't have your sense of self and you don't have your inner boundaries and you don't know where you begin or where you end, and you want to heal people, you take on and in everything, which happened to me as well, same as that lady, and I got totally depleted, and I had to stop. I had to be the bigger person to myself and say, okay, I have these tools, but if I can't heal myself first, or if I don't heal myself first, that's dangerous. And I think I find altogether there's a danger, or that's the dark side of spirituality altogether. If you work in that field, that so many people don't know themselves, don't have proper boundaries, and they just have the tools and they give them out there. And I'm like, that's very dangerous, actually, more than anything else. And what you say as a psychologist, someone shows up with no, maybe not even a own personality, just like how do you say, like one is vaporized almost. You know, they have very thin boundaries, and they might say they're super sensitive. I know I called myself highly sensitive, but that was not just being highly sensitive, it was also unresolved trauma. So for me now, I would say it's something I said to Miriam before, even spirituality is having its own positive disintegration now. Like all the old ways of practicing spirituality in a way don't work anymore, because I believe it should all be grounded and embodied now. If you cannot have thoughts and feelings alongside spiritual experiences, then you're not on your way. Then you're on your way out. Yeah, then you're out there in the orbit, but you're not here. And that's a big difference. And yeah, that can be very dangerous. And then you don't know who you are. Definitely not.
Yeah, and in some, what I'm taking from that, I'm thinking about like extrinsic validation, that this is how you should feel when you do this this activity. This is how you should feel when you perform this, well, this cleansing or whatever it may be. Instead of, what's my intrinsic feeling in this? What is my intrinsic validation? Not, am I doing this right or good, or what does this give me? What is this in my quest for my life? In some ways.
And if I may add to that, something that you said earlier, it's also about knowing your thoughts and your feelings. You said it in previously. When you know when you're in congruence with everything about yourself, like, okay, I think this, I'm about to do that. What is my motivation for doing it? How am I going to show up? And how will I take responsibility for it afterwards? And if that whole package is congruent, then you can speak of someone who might know themselves, but then it's still subjective, right?
Even if you know yourself, you have this, other path. Are you on your path to greatness? Or you're on your path to meaning? Or you're on your path to where you should be? I heard this conversation on a pod with Brene Brown and some preacher, and he talked about this boxer. I think it's a movie with Denzel Washington. I'm really not sure about this, but who found meaning when he studied and educated himself. He was in prison, but that's where he found his meaning. Viktor Frankl says the same thing. When he was in concentration camp, that's where he found his meaning, or the path he needed to find. So even if you're congruent, you may have, the throwness of life, being in a very bad spot to use it to your
But I think then it's what you said before, Axel, when you know who you are, like when life throws you a rock, what are you going to do with that rock? When you have an innate sense of self, like, okay, these are my values, and this is who I am, and this is my internal system. Okay, and then there's this big rock, there's that obstacle in my way. What am I going to do with it? And not like, how am I going to complain or be a victim or have my pity party, but what am I going to do with it? And when you have that good sense of who am I, then you're capable of dealing with it, even if you're hating it, loading it, whatever. Maybe you can even later on dance with it because you come from a very stable place of being.
I'm thinking, Yeah, yeah. I wanted to say something about agency, action, freedom, like we talked about with Rachel the other day, Dyonne. Freedom, and wait, I have like several very important thoughts, but I don't know how to put them together. But it has to do with, I think freedom is very important. I'm looking at my notes from yesterday, and it says that freedom and fearlessness is this complete calm that's not shaken by events expected of the future. This is freedom. And I'm also thinking about Frankl in the concentration camp, and I would argue that he still has this freedom in a way, and that he has. And then I want to, because so compare Frankl in the concentration camp to anyone who is not even, doesn't even dare to explore their shadow side, let alone their flourishing side, but just keeps going, doing the same thing as they did yesterday because everybody does, and everybody knows it's a good idea because everybody says it's a, you know, it's like the complete circular conformity spiral. And so they will eventually, I predict, start to feel the urge of what Freud called like the sleep of the stone. You know, this kind of, you know, just go back and like when you're lust for life and like the opposite of philosophy, right? Like when you stop being curious about wanting to know more about the world and you accept that, you know, I will gently, slowly drift away into my comfort zone with the sleep of the stone. I will just like rest here like this. And there is what I wanted to say about this situation is kind of how it's void of freedom, agency, and like action. And the problem here is the lack of love, I guess, because love would be what asks for fearlessness and is sort of creates this possibility for spontaneity and for, like we say, showing up for life. And for, we also said yesterday that you can't plan for happiness because that kind of plan will, you know, it's impossible to plan for happiness, but you can plan only to exist. So this is like, these are the concepts that are in my head at the moment. Like it's agency and action and freedom and love and existence, like choosing to exist kind of thing. And these are like it feels like these are the key elements of understanding who you are. Yeah. Now here you go, all my stuff. Take it.
Okay. I'm thinking about this exercise by I think it's called Asajoli. He has this exercise. He created the what's it called in English? Psychosynthesis. I'm not sure.
Psychosynthesis. Yeah, I know it.
Yeah. And he has this exercise of who am I, where you strip off certain aspects of yourself, and when you strip off, say for instance, the exercise is you get this 8 boxes that you fill with different concepts about yourself. It may be like identity, say for instance you're a parent or you're a daughter or son or friend or whatever. It may be more intrinsic values like I'm selfish or unselfish or whatever. But when you take these and grade them 1 to 8, and you take, well, say the 8th one, take it off, and how do you feel about yourself now? How much are still left?
I get it.
And
I
you
feel
scale
it.
off. And every one of those, is anything left? And there should be, because these are creations of our own imagination. Still. And behind those are the essential self, and you know, when you are well, lying in your bed and meeting death at some point, what are your thoughts then? Because I imagine those 8 boxes are not that interesting in some ways.
Yeah. They become trivial, irrelevant in a way. Then.
Yeah. Who is the true person who is lying there in bed?
Yeah. Feel it.
We need to wrap up again soon, but I have at least one more interesting thing. We can go for another few minutes, just so you know that we're nearing our end. But I'm looking at us now. We have psychology, philosophy, and healing, and I'm thinking all we need is art, and then it's like a complete.
Oh, yeah, that would be
Those 4 things, right? What do you think? Psychology, philosophy, healing, and art. Yeah, that's like a full life.
Yes. But I want to say something that you say about death, because I believe, same as the concept of yin and yang, that we face death every night when we want to fall asleep, when we have to fall asleep. There were times when I was struggling somewhere, also some dark night of the soul 10 years ago. I really had such fright to go to sleep. I was afraid I would fall in a certain pit or a well or something, because I don't know, it was a sense of having to give up control. And I immediately had to think of that time, because you say the boxes, it was like I was holding on for dear life for my boxes, like, okay, what will happen if I let go of that control, that sense, or my 8 boxes that you're talking about? Like, okay, this is how I perceive myself. What happens when I fall, when I die now for tonight? I mean, it's the ego death that we experience every night. And yeah, but I can really feel that.
And if we can perform that in our lives, I mean, just scaling away everything that actually is unnecessary, we can be true in everything we do. We should be able to, at least. Other people don't like it, but it doesn't really matter for us. It shouldn't really matter for us.
The more you are yourself, not everyone will like you, but you won't care.
Yeah, they will hate you, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And what comes up for me to stir up the pot here and to end with some controversy, in a way we should know ourselves really well in order to know who we are. But on the other hand, the more we know, the less we know.
Yep, sure.
So in a way, it's about we're constructing all these boxes, but also, no, we're constructing boxes, not per se like the 8 boxes I have, like a whole warehouse. But no, they're in essence, I mean well, because my idea is that I want to transcend myself, but the ego gets in the way. So I have a warehouse of boxes. And on the other hand, if they take away, so at night with my ego death, or at my final station, my final death, my warehouse gets burned down, and then who am I? So the more I know, the less I know.
And it's the same kind of movement with this sort of leaving society and leaving conformity, and then coming back as another person, as yourself, as the one you always were supposed to become. It's like this wonderful, like it seems to always come from both directions and go in both directions. It's like Alice in Wonderland, or through the looking glass, suddenly you go through and you seem to go forward, but really you go backward, and what's up is down, and it's all like the convoluted existence.
Beautiful.
Sorry,
go ahead.
That's human existence. I mean, Zarathustra couldn't live on the mountain forever, because then where would the wisdom go? He needed to come down.
It needed to come down. That's a good ending.